It appears they were at their wits' end what to do, the stores being so low that we must have been starved into surrender long before help came. But our best hope, it was decided, was to kill off the buccaneers until they either hauled down their flag or ran away with Hispaniola. From 19, they were already reduced to 15. Two others were wounded, and one at least, the man who shot beside the gun, severely wounded, if he were not dead. Every time we had a crack at them, we were to take it, saving our own lives with the extremest care. And besides that, we had two able allies, rum and the climate. As for the first, though we were about half a mile away, we could hear them roaring and singing late into the night. And as for the second, the doctor staked his wig that, camped where they were in the marsh and unprovided with remedies, half of them would be on their backs before a week. So he added, if we are not all shot down first, they'll be glad to be packing in the schooner. It's always a ship, and they can get to buccaneering again, I suppose. First ship that I ever lost, said Captain Smollett. I was dead tired, as you may fancy, and when I got to sleep, which was not till after a great deal of tossing, I slept like a dog of wood. The rest had long been up and had already breakfasted, and increased the pile of firewood by about as much again, when I was awakened by a bustle and the sound of voices. Flag of truce, I heard someone say, and then immediately after, with a cry of surprise, Silver himself. And at that up I jumped, and rubbing my eyes, ran to a loophole in the wall. 20. Silver's embassy. Sure enough, there were two men just outside the stockade, one of them waving a white cloth, the other no less a person than Silver himself, standing placidly by. It was still quite early, and the coldest morning that I think ever was abroad in, a chill that pierced into my marrow. The sky was bright and cloudless overhead, and the tops of the trees shone rosily in the sun. But where Silver stood with his lieutenant, all was still in shadow, and they waded knee-deep in a low, white vapor that had crawled during the night out of the morass. The chill and the vapor, taken together, told the full tale of the island. It was plainly a damp, feverish, unhealthy spot. Keep indoors, man, said the captain. 10 to 1, this is a trick. Then he hailed the buccaneer. Who goes? Stand or we fire? Flag of truce, cried Silver. The captain was in the porch, keeping himself carefully out of the way of a treacherous shot, would any be intended. He turned and spoke to us. Doctors, watch on the lookout. Dr. Livesay, take the north side, if you please. Jim, the east. Gray, west. The watch below, all hands to load muskets. Lively men and careful. And then he turned again to the mutineers. And what do you want with your flag of truce? He cried. This time it was the other man who replied. Captain Silver, sir, to come on board and make terms, he shouted. Captain Silver? Don't know him. Who's he? Cried the captain, and we could hear him adding to himself. Captain, isn't it? My heart, and there's a promotion. Long John answered for himself. Me, sir, these poor lads have chosen me captain. After your desertion, sir, laying a particular emphasis on the word desertion. We are willing to submit if we can come to terms, and no bones about it. All I ask is your word, Captain Smollett, to let me safe and sound out of this here in stockade, and 1 minute to get out of shot before a gun is fired. My man, said Captain Smollett, I have not the slightest desire to talk to you. If you wish to talk to me, you can come, that's all. If there's any treachery, it will be on your side, and the Lord help you. That's enough, Captain, shouted John cheerily. A word from you is enough. I know a gentleman, and you may lay to that. We could see the man who carried the flag of truce attempting to hold Silver back. Nor was that wonderful, seeing how cavalier had been the captain's answer. But Silver laughed at him aloud and slapped him on the back as if the idea of alarm had been absurd. Then he advanced to the stockade, threw over his crutch, got a leg up, and with a great vigor and skill succeeded in surmounting the fence and dropping safely on the other side. I will confess that I was far too much taken up with what was going on to be of the slightest use as sentry. Indeed, I had already deserted my eastern loophole and crept up behind the captain, who had now seated himself on the threshold, with his elbows in his knees, his head in his hands, and his eyes fixed on the water as it bubbled out of the old iron kettle in the sand. He was whistling, "Come, lasses and lads." Silver had terrible hard work getting up the knoll. What with steepness of the incline, the thick tree stumps, and the soft sand, he and his crutch were as helpless as a ship in stays. But he stuck to it like a man in silence, and at last arrived before the captain, whom he saluted in the handsomest style. He was tricked out of his best, an immense blue coat, thick with brass buttons, hung as low as to his knees, and a fun-laced hat was set on the back of his head. "There you are, my man," said the captain, raising his head. "You had better sit down." "You ain't going to let me inside, Captain," complained Long John. "It's a main cold morning, to be sure, sir, to sit outside upon the sand." "Why, Silver," said the captain, "if you had pleased to be an honest man, you might have been sitting in your galley. It's your own doing. You either my ship's cook, and then you treated handsome, or Captain Silver, a common mutineer and pirate, then you're gonna go hang." "Well, well, Captain," returned the sea cook, sitting down with a bidding on the sand, "you'll have to give me a hand up again, that's all. A sweet pretty place you have up here. Oh, that's Jim. The top of the morning to you, Jim. Doctor, here's my service. Why, there you all are together like a happy family, in a manner of speaking." "If you have something to say, my man, better say it," said the captain. "Right you were, Captain Smollett," replied Silver. "Duty is duty, to be sure. Well now, you look here. That were a good lay of yours last night. I don't deny it. It was a good lay. Some of you pretty handy with a handspike end. And I'll not deny neither but what some of my people was shook. Maybe all was shook. Maybe I was shook myself. Maybe that's why I'm here for terms. But you mark me, Captain, it won't do twice, by thunder. We'll have to do sentry go and ease off a point or so on the rum. Maybe you think we were all a sheet in the wind's eye. But I'll tell you, I was sober. I wasn't dog-tired, and I'd walk a second sooner. I'd caught you at the act, I would. He wasn't dead when I got around to him, nor he. "Well," says Captain Smollett, as cool as can be. All that Silver said was a riddle to him, but you would never have guessed it from his tone. As for me, I began to have my inkling. Ben Gunn's last word came back to my mind. I began to suppose that he had paid the buccaneers a visit, while they all lay drunk together round their fire, and I reckoned up with glee that we had only 14 enemies to deal with. "Well, here it is," said Silver. "We want the treasure, and we'll have it. That's our point. You would just as good save your lives, I reckon, and that's yours. You have a chart, haven't you?" "That's as may be," replied the captain. "Oh, well, you have, I know that," returned Long John. "You needn't be so husky with a man. There ain't a particle of service in that, and you may lay to it. What I mean is, we want your chart. Now, I never meant you no harm myself. That won't do with me, my man," interrupted the captain. "We know exactly what you mean to do, and we don't care. For now, you see, you can't do it." And the captain looked at him calmly and proceeded to fill a pipe. If Abe, Gray, Silver broke out. Avast cried Mr. Smollett. Gray told me nothing, and I asked him nothing. And that's more, I would see you and him and this whole island blown clean out of the water into blast first. So that's my mind for you, my man, on that. This little whiff of temper seemed to cool Silver down. He had been growing nettled before, but now he pulled himself together. Like enough, said he. I would set no limits to what gentlemen might consider ship shape, or might not, as the case were. And seeing as how you are about to take a pipe, Captain, I'll make so free as do likewise. And he filled a pipe and lighted it. And the two men sat silently smoking for quite a while, now looking each other in the face, now stopping their tobacco, now leaning forward to spit. It was as good as the play to see them. Now, resumed Silver, here it is. You give us the charter to get the treasure by, and drop shooting poor seamen and stoving off their heads while asleep. You do that, and we'll offer you a choice. Either you come aboard along with us once the treasure ship, and then I'll give you my affidavit upon my word of honor to clap you somewhere safe ashore. Or, if that ain't to your fancy, some of my hands being rough and having old scores an account of hazing, then you can stay here, you can. We'll divide stores with you, man for man, and I'll give my affidavit, as before, to speak the first ship I sight, and send them here to pick you up. Now, you'll own that stoking, and some of you couldn't look to get. Now you. And I hope, raising his voice, that all hands is this here blockhouse, with over all my words, for what is spoke to one is spoke to all. Captain Smollett rose from his seat and knocked out the ashes of his pipe in the palm of his left hand. Is that all? I asked. Every last word, my thunder, answered John. Refuse that, and you'll see the last of me. But musket balls. Very good, said the captain. Now you'll hear me. If you'll come up one by one, unarmed, I'll engage to clap you all in irons, and take you home to a fair trial in England. If you won't, my name is Alexander Smollett. I've flown my sovereign's colors, and I'll see you all to Davy Jones. You can't find the treasure. You can't sail the ship. There's not a man among you fit to sail the ship. You can't find us, Gray. There, got away from 5 of you. Your ship's in irons, Master Silver. You're here, you're on a lee shore, and so you'll find. I stand here and tell you so, and they're the last good words you'll get from me, for in the name of heaven, I'll put a bullet in your back when next I meet you.